Welcome back, everybody, to this show. I hope you're doing absolutely wonderful. Let's start with this. Some leaked audio of Karoline Leavitt demonstrates just how willing CBS is to being bossed around by the Trump administration. And that has happened through change in leadership and through legal abuses by the Trump administration to get CBS in line. And now they have this new anchor, Tony Dokapil, who we've obviously looked at some of his sort of cringeworthy moments in his opening week of being a primetime host. And I'll show you, or I'll play for you this audio in a second. But first, White House press secretary media reports Karoline Leavitt threatened CBS News evening news anchor Tony Dokapil the administration would sue your ass off moments after he finished his 13-minute interview with President Donald Trump, the New York Times reported Saturday, although some witnesses weren't sure if she was being serious. Well, given that they did try to sue CBS's ass off already and CBS capitulated, I don't know how much of a joke that would be. Let's listen to the audio. And again, the substance of it is not super relevant to me. Instead, it's the way you hear Tony respond to Karoline Leavitt. She's like, Trump said he'll sue your ass off if you don't release this interview in its entirety. And Tony's like, thank you, man, thank you, yes, of course, oh, yes, of course, as if she's his boss, which is not what it's supposed to be, but increasingly CBS News seems to be going in that direction. Here's the audio.
Good job, by the way, you went right at L. Hey.
While we listen to it, by the way, please do, if you appreciate the show, you want to help it grow, get to more viewers, thus get the message out further, you can click the subscribe button right below the video. I appreciate it greatly. Here you go.
Good job, by the way, you went right at L.
Make sure you guys don't cut the tape. Make sure the interview is out in full.
Yeah, we're doing it. Yeah.
You said if it's not out in full, we'll sue your ass off. Oh, great, okay.
He always says that. I think that one.
We only have 19 minutes and 30 seconds, so 13 minutes.
How long did we talk?
The whole thing will be out.
Yeah.
So,
I appreciate you, Karoline.
But just to confirm,
So you heard that. By the way, I do just want to note, if I seem a little flustered right now, there is a dog in this room, and it just let out the most potent flatulence I've ever smelled in my entire life. And oh my gosh, I'm reacting physically to it. I can taste it? Is that supposed to happen? Oh my gosh. Woo! So the dog doesn't like the audio either and is reacting. Gah. And the part that's the most disturbing is not even Karoline Leavitt being like, we'll sue your ass off if you don't do what we wanted you to do with this interview, being release it in full, which sometimes just doesn't happen because of time constraints where the interview's airing, etc. And that's not really the Trump administration's choice. But it's the way at the end did you hear Tony go, Karoline, I can picture him. There's no video, but I can picture him. They're like standing in a circle and Karoline's not looking at him. And then he goes, Karoline, thank you. Or he says, I appreciate you. Really? You appreciate Karoline Leavitt for being one of the most brazen propagandists in the history of American spokespeople? What do you appreciate about her, Tony?
Yeah.
So, I appreciate you, Karoline.
But just to confirm.
I appreciate you. This is Tony, okay, ready? This is Karoline's hand, ready? Thank you. Another, please. Other cheek. More. That's Tony. Sorry, Tony. I'm intoxicated on the fumes of a pooting dog. What am I supposed to do? I take that down. And then there's this. Cheek kisses between Barry Weiss, the new editor-in-chief, and Donald Trump following 60 Minutes interview rankle CBS staff. In a moment that sources said led to stunned reactions and dropped jaws, Barry Weiss excitedly introduced herself to the president and leaned in for a kiss on the cheek following his 60 Minutes interview. That doesn't sound at all like an unbiased editor. CBS News boss. It's disturbing what's going on over there. And Trump even kind of toyed with the idea, saying, Tony, I don't think you'd have this job if Kamala had won.
Tony, we have now the hottest country in the world, and a year and a half ago, our country was dead. We had a dead country. You wouldn't have a job right now. If she got in, you probably wouldn't have a job right now. Your boss, who's an amazing guy, might be bust, okay?
Might be
That's
what?
how bad. Might be bust. I doubt it in his case.
He might bust, Tony. Why didn't you hear me? And that is probably true. It does feel like CBS's shift to be more MAGA friendly, and I don't mean in the cover things objectively way. I mean in the distort your presentation of reality to create a false sense of equivalency between different ideas and concepts of different factual value, putting them on the same plane of factuality, which is actually not factual, to pretend like things that aren't as credible are because they represent a side. Someone said it, someone powerful said it. And Tony being this new host in this new era of CBS News does feel like a direct response to the changes at CBS because of the Trump administration and their attacks against CBS and their pressure. And so Trump kind of acknowledges that by saying, I think if I hadn't won, you wouldn't even be in this position. I saw about this clip that I'll play for you next. Mehdi Hasan said, Fetterman says it's not an absurd idea at all to try to acquit Greenland. And Dokopil responds, not at all. No questions from Dokopil about the illegality of trying to take it by force or the European allied backlash to the U.S. This is what state TV looks like. Watch this clip because they're having a segment where it's sort of, look, Dave McCormick and John Fetterman, the two Pennsylvania senators, Republican, Democrat. Fetterman's barely a Democrat these days, but this is how people can get along, and they're talking about Greenland, and it's a little bit too cozy with the idea of us taking Greenland, I'd say.
Set a good example because we have lots of disagreements, but we trust each other, we like one another, and we look for ways to work together for the people of Pennsylvania. And we've developed a great relationship, and it's been really successful with things like Nippon and U.S. Steel. These are things we've worked on together.
So he says you're setting an example, Senator.
Yeah, well, and he is too. He is too. I mean, early on, the first time we actually met was at the 5th anniversary of the Tree of Life massacre. And we already agreed we're never going to be personal. It's not going to get vicious or anything. And then after he was elected, we're like, we're going to just find for wins for Pennsylvania. And we can agree to disagree on other issues like that.
All right, it's a mystery then why other senators aren't able to do this. Let's talk about Greenland while we have you both there. You agree that it is a strategically important potential asset for the U.S. Denmark, though, says it's not for sale. Senator Fetterman, I'll go to you on this. Do you think military force is really an option from the Trump administration?
No. I think that's wrong. No, that's not an option. And for me, though, it's also undeniable that, one, this is not a brand new conversation. Truman and other in the past offered to buy it there. And now I also remind people it's actually closer to us geographically, North America, to Denmark and Europe, to technically that too. So it's not an absurd idea.
Not at all.
But obviously not showing up, with the military and take over. It's the size in terms of the population of Harrisburg.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to invade,
Senator, where are you on the question of Greenland? Because it is of strategic importance for defense purposes and others. How do we get it? Do we even need it?
I was just a couple months ago met with the Prime Minister of Denmark, and they are welcoming the United States playing a more active role. There's an open door, I think, for diplomatic negotiation.
You have European countries sending troops to Greenland because of Trump's threats. You have cooperative relationships we've spent decades cultivating being degraded and wrecked because of Trump's anti-diplomacy. You have Trump being way more friendly in many cases with authoritarian regimes abroad that disagree on everything we're supposed to hold dear than he is with many of our allies. And this is crumbling, as I said, a series of relationships that we've been cultivating for decades. And that's not even a part of the question. It's just, hey, not a crazy idea. We should snag it, but do we really want to invade? That's kind of the spirit of the question. And then they're like, yeah, the tone over and over again is just so off and missing context and missing important parts of the question. Of course, no one really disagrees. As I said before, if there was a flash sale on Greenland and we wanted to buy it, cool. If someone offered it at a good discount, okay, sure, we'll take it. But that's not the part that's causing global controversy and fear about us having military aggression within NATO, which would be the collapse of NATO. That's the part of the question that we need a lot of emphasis on. Anywho, this is a crazy flashback to Ted Cruz's 2016 presidential campaign, where he's being like, Trump's crazy. True. Doesn't say that anymore. And next thing you know, we're going to wake up and he's going to have nuked Denmark.
We need someone with judgment and the temperament to keep this country safe. I don't know anyone who would be comfortable with someone who behaves this way having his finger on the button. I mean, we're liable to wake up one morning and Donald, if he were president, would have nuked Denmark. That's not the temperament of a leader to keep this country safe. We need a president who will have the back of our fighting men and women, who will have their back and will be clear-eyed and focused on our enemies, on radical Islamic terrorism, and on defeating ISIS. That's what I will do every day.
And of course, he ended up changing his mind from this is a guy who would randomly wake up and nuke Denmark to this guy's great. But what's interesting is he chose Denmark, and obviously Trump's not going to nuke Denmark, but now Trump's talking about military aggression against Denmark's territory. Interesting. Very interesting.
Let's stop attacking pedophiles.
Okay, I guess we'll just leave it there. I guess that's why he stopped attacking Trump.